Okay guys, a quick video on how to utilize the table feature of the calculator to help you fill in things like this table that you have right here very quickly instead of having to spend a lot of time typing something in. So typically when I see something like this, I take my function, I'm going to put it into my y equals. So some features of the calculator that I'm going to use, I'm going to hit alpha F1 and I'm going to choose this fraction bar here because that makes it easy to type it in. I'm going to type in my trig function, sine of x, and sorry, it's a little small for me, so I'm going to hit close. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to divide by x. Now before I go to either the graph or taking a look at the table, I want to make sure that my mode is in radians. In calculus, we are always in radian mode. It does not matter. 100% of the time we are in radian mode, which is a problem for those of you in physics. You need to switch back and forth. But in calculus, make sure you're in radian mode. Now, if I want to take a look at the graph of this, I'm going to go to the zoom feature. So second zoom. And when I zoom on that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom trig. All right, hold on, what did I do? Zoom. And then trig is 7. So we'll do zoom 7 just so we can kind of see what the picture looks like. And so there's the picture that we're taking a look at. Now, obviously, one way that we could get these values would be to simply hit the trace button that we have. And so the trace button, so if I hit that trace button, then I can just type in the value. So that's method number 1. So negative 0.05, hit enter, and you'll see the y value that's located right here, and you could write that down. Kind of the faster way to do that. And then I just also wanted to tell you that most graphing utilities, notice that if I move over off of that, it appears that it looks like a nice continuous function there. But if I'm tracing and I type in 0, so if I come down here and hit the 0 and type that in, notice that I do not have a y value there. So you kind of have to know more than your calculator when you're dealing with discontinuities that are point discontinuities where there's a hole, because the calculator will not show that for you. So the shorter way to do this, and what I like to do, is I like to go to table set by hitting second and the window that's there. It doesn't really matter about table start and delta table because I like to have my independent has to be over here and highlighting the ask. If it's not highlighting the ask, like if it's looking like this when you come in, just scroll over to where it says ask and hit enter. So now when you go to the table, which is above the graph right there, notice that it's basically a blank screen and it's going to ask me to put in the values. So the values that we had, and I'm just going to type them on my phone because that's going to be faster, negative, what do you have, negative 0.5, and then negative 0.1, negative 0.01, 0, 0.01, 0.1, and 0.5. So you see that it makes it pretty quick for us to kind of take a look at how this is working. And then I would suggest that when I'm writing them down, and my suggestion in AP Calculus is we usually round to at least 3 decimals and sometimes more. So in a situation like this, so I don't lose the detail of rounding because it might look like exactly the same number every single time if I round. In something very small like this, I usually move over. So do you see how I moved over here? And if you look, when you're highlighting here, down here, this gives you the entire number. Sometimes that will be better detail because we don't want to do like if there's scientific notation. This is only 4 or 5 numbers wide. So sometimes there's some rounding that you want to be careful of because it's rounding. So you always move over and then you can look at this and then record the values that you need that are there. The other thing that I wanted to show you is that the calculator is also basically showing that this is an error. And you don't write error when you are doing this. The mathematical terms for an error in a function evaluation is you would either say undefined or D&E. Do not put null set. That does not mean the same thing. Null set is a something that is used when you are solving equations and your solution set is empty or it's the null set. Do not use that when you mean none or undefined or DNE. It's not a generic term that you use for everything. So just do not put null set for those. Say undefined or say does not exist. What we're saying is that the function value, the y value, does not exist when x equals 0, or the y value is undefined when x equals 0, in this case because there's a division by 0 problem. All right, so that's your quick tutorial on using the table feature of your calculator.